Shrouded in silvery dawn mist, the flat beach stretches before an armada. The air is tense, low hums of ships, gnawing dread, the faint glimmer of the tricolor pinned to a battered grill. Deep sand, barbed wire tangled, brief prayers whispered. Engines cough hesitantly. A battered Willys MB Jeep, painted olive drab, waits by a landing craft ramp. Mud splatters its sides. The nicknames taped next to its gear shift. Old Faithful, visible, a joke first, now a badge of survival. The ramp drops with a metal groan, boots thunder off. The Jeep lunges forward, splashing through surf, springing past obstacles. A field ambulance loaded with stretchers, bandaged arms hanging over the tailgate. Supplies stacked, muffled groans, maps spread on the hood under gloved hands. Upstairs, distant artillery chokes the sky, shells whine, teeth grit. Old Faithful carries wounded from the sand to triage. Medics wave, then vanish into plumes of smoke. Back again, offloading crates of rations, packs of wire, a stack of radios cradled like infants. Hours pass. Generals climb aboard. Quick conference at a crossroads, orders barked. The Jeep sprints through hedgerows, tires spinning. A general's finger jabs a map. Get us to Carentan fast. The Jeep obliges, despite splintered axles and a shrapnel-blasted fender. Days and nights blur with movement. Camouflage netting soaks in rain. A helmet hangs from the rear mirror, scribbled names. Davis, Myers, both alive, so far. On board, a prayer for luck and a promise. Survive this drive, one more dawn. Somewhere, a broken voice says, "This machine's all we have to trust." Silence. The Jeep keeps moving. The hedgerows of Normandy thicken, green walls split by sudden fire and bitter luck. Old Faithful shudders down muddy roads, splattered with clay, leaves, hope, and terror. Night after night, headlights slice through fog. A path to resupply, a lifeline for squads cut off by collapsing bridges and shelled crossroads. Supplies lashed down with scavenged rope. Spare fuel cans clank in the dark. A pair of boots rides shotgun, their owner slumped but alive, bandaged from ankle to chin. Radios buzz, orders relayed with nervous urgency. Old Faithful ferries medics, stretcher teams, even chaplains. Silent prayers offered on the battered seat, breath fogging frosted glass. Artillery stirs the lavender fields. The Jeep zigzags between craters, dodging fallen trees and shrapnel. On a desperate morning in St. Lo, wounded stack 3 deep across the bench. Engine coughs. Despair simmers in glances exchanged under a tarpaulin. Generals climb in, boots, stars, hasty maps sketched with trembling pencils. Push forward. Now. The Jeep answers, axles groaning. Barrage ahead, stop, wait, listen. Then across bridges patched with planks, past ruined farmhouses, the journey resumes. At each halt, battered men climb out, hands ghost white from tension, shoes crusted with blood and soil. A yellowed photo is tucked behind the dashboard, an early D-Day snapshot. All grins, now dog-eared, names half forgotten but loyalty never in doubt. Rumors circulate, Old Faithful's luck will hold. In the twilight, when hope runs thin, the Jeep always reappears, mud-caked and stubborn, a moving miracle. A general pauses, hand on the windshield. This old thing saved more men than a battalion. It isn't just metal, it's memory. Through the summer and fall, Old Faithful roars east. Liberation of Paris, a city rising in joy, brief respite as the Jeep races through cobbled streets draped in flags and flowers. On the Seine, children wave, but the convoy cannot stop. Orders call from the front. Across the river, the Jeep fords battered wooden bridges, tires rattling on planks, barely holding the weight of freedom's hope. Countryside blurs past, endless fields, gutted barns, fleeting shadows of threats ahead. At Falaise, the air hangs hot and foul over churned-up earth, wreckage, and the endless procession of wounded. The Jeep doubles as ambulance, its stretcher slots never empty, side panels etched with grime and dust. Sometimes it is the shelter against enemy machine gun bursts, a moment's shield for men who must keep moving. Through battered Rouen, Amiens, and Nancy, stained uniforms and spare parts patch the Jeep as much as any depot. The autumn chill arrives. Mud deepens. Ardennes forests loom, a place of waiting and fear. Winter brings the Battle of the Bulge. The Jeep's hood freezes beneath a dusting of snow, rations nearly gone, the engine grumbling but steady. Medics grip frozen handles. Generals, wrapped in greatcoats, pass steaming mugs and whispered plans on the hood. In the fog, headlights doused, Old Faithful crawls toward Bastogne relief, fighting ice and panic. Armor columns stall, but the Jeep never stops, carrying dispatches, hope, and the last reserves of endurance. Enemy shelling rakes the tree line. metal on metal, trees split and shiver. Old Faithful, hit by debris, lurches but holds. A crucifix dangles from the rear view. Someone kisses it with a cracked smile, promising the Jeep miracles if it'll just keep going until morning. American GIs say, the Jeep's tougher than most of us. Engine steaming, canvas roof torn, the Jeep emerges from the snows of Ardennes, battered but undefeated, the soul of the march east. Come the thaw, every ding in the fender is counted like a badge. Each patchwork repair a reminder, this was not just a ride, but a comrade. As spring loosens winter's grip, the thunder of Allied guns rolls over the Rhine. Old Faithful patrols bridgeheads, across pontoons defying the current, through mud and smoke and frenetic shouts. On board, dispatches flutter, generals huddle again over maps. The Jeep leads columns, convoy after convoy. Its battered grille is now familiar from Paris to the riverbank, the soldier's eyes tracking its progress. Eastward, Germany unravels in ashes and surrender. The Jeep bounces across new battlefields, fields cratered by mortars, villages evacuated, crowds of POWs shuffling alongside. A medic's satchel rides next to rations. Sometimes the Jeep transports German officers under armed escort. Always moving, always carrying proof that the fight goes on and the costs mount. Every new day, Old Faithful finds another stretch, churned up by the tracks of T-34s and Sherman tanks, or scarred by the relentless retreat of the Wehrmacht. On its side hangs the painted insignia of the division, faded but stubborn, reassurance, a mark of family in the chaos. To Berlin, the Jeep hauls men and memories, the lucky, the wounded, the determined. Crossing bombed-out towns, the Jeep's horn signals life, hope, stubborn defiance. Over farm roads, through the ruins of Nuremberg, and finally past the outlying canals and streets, Berlin appears, weary and broken. The Jeep rolls through the Brandenburg Gate, engine coughing, the final act of a journey that began on salt-soaked sand at Normandy. In the chill air, an American flag unfolds from a battered pack. An unplanned gesture, the stars and stripes draped across the Jeep's windshield, fender dented, hood streaked with old blood and new dust. A column stands silent as the flag rises. Old Faithful, parked out front, carries more than wounded men and generals now. It carries the weight and relief of victory. Like so many soldiers, Old Faithful is changed by its war. The dents, the patches, the faded paint, every mark a story, every journey a testament to loyalty and survival. The sky over Berlin softens, spring dust settling where rubble and flags now mingle. After the surrender, the column disperses. Soldiers pack their bags, some heading for home. The Jeep, streaked with oil and victory, stands watch on a cracked avenue, its engine ticking in the quiet. News travels, orders shift. Old Faithful ferries departing wounded, carries final communiques, returns to staging areas. A new reality takes hold, peace, relief, exhaustion. The Jeep rolls on, its wheels tracing lines between barracks, hospitals, and celebration field tents. Sometimes it carries a chaplain to a service, sometimes a hasty message on hopeful receding fronts. At dusk, an impromptu parade, the battered vehicle leads a ragged line, flags waving, crowd cheering. The division's mechanics restore the patching panels, painting new stars and stripes. It becomes the mascot, a symbol for longevity and grit, the memory of what was survived. A photo is snapped, the Jeep standing under the ruins of Brandenburg Gate, soldiers gathered around, their hands and faces marked by war and disbelief that it is finally over. As months pass, Old Faithful stays, sometimes ferrying dignitaries, sometimes veterans visiting cemeteries, always part of the fabric of victory remembered. Soon, peace brings new purpose. The Willys MB transforms, its legacy crossing oceans and continents. Soldiers tell stories, show pictures, teach children. Mechanics in small towns mount flags on the grills, their hands lingering, remembering what these machines once meant. The Jeep that carried generals, wounded orders, and the future becomes a legend in peacetime. Its spirit survives, first through civilian CJ conversions, then as the icon of farm and freedom, the brand that carries the weight of memory, loyalty, and hope for a generation that saw war. Veterans visiting reunions decades later recognize the dent in the fender, smile at the patched canopy, and remember, this was not just a vehicle, but the soul of a journey from Normandy to Berlin. A symbol, a comrade, history rolling forward with every turn of its battered wheels. Old Faithful was never a hero of steel alone. It was proof of survival, loyalty, and finally peace.